Something has shifted. I can tell you exactly when I first noticed it, not as a single dramatic event, but as a pattern that built like pressure behind a wall. 23 years of exorcism ministry, hundreds of cases, and I began to see something the textbooks do not fully prepare you for. The demonic was no longer content to hide. It was becoming brazen. Souls who had never dabbled in the occult, never opened a door I could point to cleanly, were presenting with levels of oppression that formerly required years of provocation. And in nearly every one of those cases, when I asked the soul to describe what they had felt in the weeks before the affliction became unmistakable, the answer was the same. Something had tried to warn them. A sudden aversion in prayer, a weight they could not name, pressing against a choice, an inexplicable urge to call a priest, not because they felt religious in that moment, but because something in them knew that something was their guardian angel, and it had been trying to sound an alarm before the door swung open. I want to speak plainly today because I think plainness is what the moment requires. I have been doing this work for a long time. I have sat across from people in the grip of things most Catholics do not believe still exist. I have prayed over homes where the atmosphere felt wrong in the way that a room feels wrong after something terrible has happened in it, except nothing human had happened there. I am a priest. I am a trained philosopher. I have studied the scholastics, the church fathers, the theology of the angelic. I am not given to alarm, but I would not be doing my duty as a priest if I did not say what I now believe with moral certainty. We are in a different kind of moment than we were 30 years ago. Not a different kind of moment than Scripture described. Not a different kind of moment than the mystics anticipated, but different from the recent past. And the difference matters. And ordinary Catholics need to understand what it means for the way they live their lives. Let me give you a case. I will not use real names, I never do. And I will tell you it is a composite drawn from patterns I have seen repeat across years and geography. But what I am about to describe is not invented. It is a shape I have seen enough times that I would call it a type. A family, a mother in her early 40s practicing Catholic Mass most Sundays, rosary, intermittent children in a Catholic school that, if we are honest, is more Catholic in name than in catechetical content. Her husband is a good man, skeptical of the charismatic, skeptical of what he calls the mystical side of things. They are not bad people. They are the kind of people you see at Mass and feel relieved by because they are there. They are trying. The trouble begins small. The oldest child, 14, starts pulling away from confession. Not a fight about it, just a quiet resistance. The mother lets it slide once, twice, because there is so much else to manage. And the boy is not doing anything obviously terrible. He has a new group of friends at school. He is spending more time online. She notices his mood has changed, but moods change at 14. Around the same time, she begins to feel during her morning prayers an interruption, not a distraction exactly. She is used to distractions, something more like a presence at the edge of her attention. She does not name it as anything supernatural. She tells herself she is tired, but she also tells herself on 3 separate occasions that she needs to talk to a priest. Not to go to confession. She's current on confession, but to talk. She does not follow through. She is busy. She does not want to seem dramatic. The boy's situation deteriorates over 4 months. What begins as mood and withdrawal becomes something the mother cannot explain away. He starts describing a voice, not auditory hallucinations in the clinical sense. The doctors find nothing wrong but an interior voice with a character of its own. A voice that tells him things he does not believe in his better moments. Things about himself that are corrosive in the specific targeted way. Only an enemy who has studied you can be corrosive. He becomes afraid to sleep alone. The crucifix in his room makes him feel, he says, angry, and he does not understand why, because he is not an angry person about religious things. He removes it. The mother puts it back. He removes it again. By the time she calls me, she is not sleeping either. The weight she had felt at the edge of her morning prayers has become something she cannot ignore. She has also in those months stopped praying in the morning. Not deliberately, she simply started skipping it a few minutes here, a day there, until the habit dissolved. So gradually, she could not identify the moment it broke. When I speak with her, I ask about those early warnings, the presence at the edge of her attention, the urge to call a priest. She remembers them clearly. She had not, until I named them, understood what they were. Her guardian angel had been working. The problem was not that the angel failed. The problem was that no one had ever taught her to recognize what an angel's prompting actually feels like or why responding to it matters. That gap between what the angel was doing and what she was equipped to receive is not an accident. It is the fruit of something that has been happening in the church for decades. I will come back to it. Now, let me tell you what I mean when I say that something has changed, and that what has changed is not a rumor. I have taught for years that the demonic operates within a hierarchy. This is not speculative theology, it is Aquinas. It is pseudo-Dianius. It is the consistent teaching of the exorcists and theologians who have handled these cases across centuries. The demonic realm has a structure, and within that structure there are entities of sufficient rank that they do not deign to manifest in ordinary cases. They have lieutenants for that. What I have observed in the past decade is that the higher orders are increasingly present in cases where, by the logic of the previous generation's experience, you would not expect them. Why would that be? There are two explanations, and I believe both are operating simultaneously. The first is that the level of sin and disorder in the culture has given the demonic more material to work with, more open doors, more invitation, more permission. The second is that the Church's defenses have been weakened, not because the Church herself has failed in her divine constitution, she cannot, but because the ordinary vehicles by which the Church's protection reaches souls, frequent confession, Eucharistic piety, the regular recourse to sacramentals, the formation of conscience through sound, catesis have been allowed to atrophy. Where those vehicles are absent, the demonic has room it did not have before. St. Peter is not subtle about this. Adversarius, Vest, Diabolus, Tamwam, Leo, Rugen, and Circuit, Quarens, Quim, Devet. Your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, goes about seeking whom he may devour. The word Peter uses is circuit. He circles. He looks for the weakness in the perimeter. He is patient. And what he has found in our time is a perimeter that has been thinned by neglect. Now here is where the guardian angel enters, and this is the part I most want you to understand. The guardian angel is not a passive companion. This is a misunderstanding that has crept into popular Catholic imagination. The idea that the angel walks beside you in a vague decorative sense, wings folded, waiting for you to ask nicely. Aquinas is precise about this. In the Summa, the angel has been assigned to you by God with a specific commission, and that commission involves actively working for your salvation. The angel illumines the intellect. The angel suggests goods to the will. The angel does not force. It cannot because the will is free. But it presses. It persists. It does not give up on you merely because you ignored it yesterday. What does an angel's prompting feel like? This is the question that almost no one asks in the contemporary church, and the absence of that question is costing souls. An angel's prompting is not usually spectacular. It does not come with a voice from the sky. It comes as a thought that rises with an unusual clarity, a clarity that is not quite like your ordinary thoughts, cleaner, more directed, less anxious. It comes as a sudden desire to pray when you had not been thinking of prayer. It comes as a resistance, a reluctance to go somewhere or do something or say yes to something that you cannot fully rationalize, but that you sense is not merely fear or laziness. It comes sometimes as an urgency to seek a priest, or to make a confession, or to get yourself and your household to Mass. And the urgency has a quality of now that your own thoughts rarely carry. The woman in the case I described had felt all of these things. The angel had been working. And the tragedy, the word I used deliberately, is that she had been given no framework for recognizing what the angel was doing. She had been told in the catechesis she received that she had a guardian angel. She had not been told what the angel actually does, or how it speaks, or what ignoring it costs. She ignored it not out of malice. She ignored it because she did not know she was ignoring anything. She thought she was just tired. She thought the urge to call a priest was her own anxious personality. She thought the weight at the edge of her prayer was distraction. None of it was. All of it was the angel telling her now before this goes further. Now, so when I say it has already begun, let me be precise about what I mean and what I do not mean. I do not mean I have been given a private revelation about a specific chastisement on a specific date. I have not. I do not speculate about dates. I distrust people who do. God has not bound himself to our timelines, and anyone who tells you with confidence that the chastisement arrives in a particular year is telling you something they do not know. What I have learned from decades of this work is that the souls who prepare themselves now, who build the habits of prayer and sacrament and recourse to the angel, now are the souls who survive spiritually what is coming, whatever precise form it takes and whenever it arrives. Preparation is not panic. Preparation is sanity. What has already begun is the open operation of the demonic at a scale and a boldness that the previous generation of exorcists did not commonly encounter. What has already begun is the thinning of the Church's ordinary protections, not because of any failure in her divine constitution, but because the human instruments of those protections, the catechists, the pastors, the fathers and mothers in domestic churches, have been deprived of the formation they needed to transmit what had been transmitted for centuries before them. What has already begun is the situation in which ordinary Catholics, people of genuine goodwill, are walking into serious spiritual danger because no one told them what to look for or what to do about it, or that their guardian angel has been trying to get their attention for months. That is what has begun. It is not a speculation. I am describing what I have seen in case after case, year after year. The pattern is unmistakable, and the good news, and there is good news, is that the response is not complicated. The sacraments are still there, the confessionals are still in the churches, the Eucharist is still available, the Rosary still works. The guardian angel has not abandoned the souls it was assigned to. God has not withdrawn his mercy. The defenses are not gone. They are available, and they are as powerful as they have ever been. The question is whether you will use them. Let me be specific about confession, because I think it is the most underused weapon in the ordinary Catholic's life. I have said many times that the confessional is the place where the demonic's legal claim on a soul is severed. Sin gives the demonic permission. It does not give it permission to possess. Possession is far rarer than popular imagination supposes, but it gives it permission to press, to afflict, to insert suggestions, to wear the soul down by degrees. Frequent confession removes that permission. It is not a magic formula, it is a sacrament, which means it is an action of God himself with real ontological effect, not a psychological exercise or a social ritual. When a soul goes to confession with genuine contrition and a firm purpose of amendment, something changes in the spiritual order. Something that had access loses access. The angel gains room to work. The guardian angel and the sacrament of penance work together in a way that catechesis has largely failed to describe. The angel presses you toward the confessional. The confessional removes the obstacles that were limiting what the angel could do. The angel then presses you toward the next level of recollection, of prayer, of virtue. This is not a cycle of anxiety. It is a cycle of growth. But you have to start it, and you have to keep it going, and you have to learn to hear what the angel is saying when it says it. This brings me to the thing that I believe, after all these years, is the deepest failure of the post-consular period. Not a failure of the council itself, which must be read in continuity with the tradition, but a failure in what happened to ordinary parish formation in the decades after the council closed in 1965. What was lost was not doctrine formally speaking. The doctrine was still there in the catechism, in the encyclicals, in the documents. What was lost was the transmission of a Catholic sensibility, the sense that the spiritual world is real and immediate, that the sacramentals matter, that the angel is a real being with a real mission, that the demonic is a genuine adversary who is studying you, and that the ordinary practices of Catholic life, the holy water, the scapular, the Friday abstinence, the daily rosary, the regular confession, are not pious decoration, but functional armor. I am not nostalgic about the 1950s in some naive way. I know the pre-conciliary church had its own failures of formation, but I will say plainly, the generation raised in serious Catholic practice before the disruption had on average a far more robust natural resistance to demonic influence than what I commonly encounter now, not because they were holier people by nature, because they had been given tools. The tools worked, the tools were handed down, and then over roughly a generation, the handing down stopped. Not everywhere, not absolutely, but widely enough that we are now seeing the fruit of that loss in the cases that come to my door. The catechetical collapse I am describing was not an act of malice on anyone's part. In most cases, it was a combination of misapplied zeal, cultural pressure, and a failure of nerve, a failure to insist that the old forms had a reason, even when the reason was not always articulated. The reason was this: the spiritual world does not change. The demonic does not update its methods to match the spirit of the age. It has been doing what it does since before the creation of time. The church's defenses were developed over centuries of hard-won experience with exactly that enemy. Discarding those defenses because they felt old was like dismantling the city walls because no one felt like a war was coming. The war did not get the memo. Now let me give you something you can actually do. Not a program, not a system, a short list of things that work drawn from the theology and from the cases. Begin praying to your guardian angel by name. You do not know the name, but the angel does, and ask it explicitly to make its prompting clear to you. The traditional prayer is fine, but go beyond the traditional prayer. Ask the angel to help you recognize when it is speaking, and ask it to press harder when you are in the habit of ignoring it. The angel hears that prayer. It responds to it. Go to confession. If it has been more than a month, go this week. If it has been years, go now. This week, regardless of what else is on your calendar, you do not need to feel ready. Readiness in this context is often a fiction the demonic uses to keep you out of the confessional. Go anyway. Bring what you have. Let the sacrament do what it does. Restore the sacramentals in your home, holy water at the entrance, a crucifix in every bedroom, including your own, the image of Our Lady somewhere your family gathers. These are not superstitions. They are the Church's official sacramentals. Blessed objects that carry real spiritual weight, not magical, not independent of prayer and grace, but real. The demonic is repelled by them when they are used with faith. This is not folklore. This is consistent with the theology and consistent with what I have seen in the cases. Pray the rosary daily if you can. The rosary is not primarily a meditation exercise, though the meditation is real and valuable. It is an act of Mary and consecration renewed daily. Our Lady's protection over those who pray the rosary has been attested across centuries and across cultures in a pattern too consistent to dismiss. I have seen it in the cases. The souls who have an active Marian devotion, specifically the rosary, present differently in spiritual combat than those who do not. They are not immune from attack, but the attack has less room. The angel has more. And finally, do not isolate yourself. The demonic wants you alone. It wants you to think you are the only one who sees the problem, or that the problem is too large for anything you could do, or that the church has failed so thoroughly that the ordinary means are not worth bothering with. None of that is true. The ordinary means are exactly what the moment requires because they are the ordinary means. They have been given by God for exactly this kind of moment, and they work at exactly this level of crisis. Find a confessor, find a community of faithful practice. Do not navigate this alone. Let me not tell you something else, and I want to be clear about this. Let me not give you the impression that I am describing a situation that is beyond God's capacity to address. That would be a theological error. Whatever has begun, whatever the precise shape of what is unfolding, it is unfolding within the providence of God. Not outside it, not despite it, but within it. The Father has not lost the thread. The Son has not abandoned his church. The Holy Spirit has not withdrawn. The Blessed Mother has not stopped interceding. The angels have not been recalled. Every protection that God put in place remains in place. The question is not whether God is powerful enough. The question is whether you will avail yourself of what he has provided. I have been doing this work for a long time. I have seen things that I do not describe in public because they are not useful to describe and because they are not the point. The point is what I have also seen. Souls who came to me in serious spiritual affliction, some of them in grave danger, who committed to the ordinary means with real seriousness and who came through not because they were extraordinary, because the means are real, the sacraments are real, the angel is real, and God is faithful in a way that embarrasses our doubt. So yes, something has begun. The spiritual environment has shifted. The demonic is more brazen. The defenses have been allowed to thin. And ordinary souls are paying a price for what was lost in the formation of the last several decades. I have seen this with my own eyes in hundreds of cases across many years. I am not speculating, but God has also not left us without a response. He has given us the sacraments. He has given us the rosary and the sacramentals. He has given us each other. He has given us, and this is the thing I want you to carry with you, an angel, your own angel, an angel that has been by your side since your soul came into existence, that knows the specific contours of your temptations and your weaknesses, that has watched you make bad choices, and has never stopped working for your salvation, that is pressing you right now at this moment toward the good. That angel is not alarmed. Angels do not experience alarm the way we do. Their mode of knowing is not subject to panic. But if you could perceive even for a moment the intensity with which your angel is working on your behalf in this hour, you would not sleep tonight without having prayed, without having gone to your crucifix, without having said even 3 decades of the rosary. You would not let another week pass without confession. You would not dismiss the thought that rises with that peculiar clarity, the one saying now as mere distraction, your angel is warning you. It has been warning you. Snorts. Whether you hear it is the choice in front of you. God is with us. He has always been with us.